Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Please find your seats. I'm Sylvain Lhôte. I'm the new Director General of CEPI. We heard about the global context, and I have a kind of a challenge, which is to cover in 15 minutes the next 35 years. So bear with me in a sense, but we are actually equipped with it. As Peter pointed out, we have had a roadmap back in 2011, which was aligning our vision that we could grow our added value by 50% while decarbonizing by 80% our production basis. And also looking at our transport and also looking at the electricity we purchase on the market. That was at that time kind of a bold vision. As you know, I'm coming from another world, let's put it like that. This had no equivalent in no other industries in Brussels. Our vision was very much to become the global leading industry for the bioeconomy that was emerging, and really building on what are our strengths. Our strength, and it's unique again, it's to be built on renewable and recyclable material. And when you combine those two together, you have something pretty unique to move forward. That's also how we bring the solution to the global climate change challenge. As Peter said, we are part of the solution, and we should be even more tomorrow within this bioeconomy leadership we aim at. Now, some of you may think, yeah, that's fine, that's PR. And even though, again, coming from outside, I thought, hey, that's really smart PR. How are those guys gonna do this? It comes out through innovation, the work we have done on breakthroughs, the work we have done on future skills. I don't know many industries in town that have moved from a brainstorm concept on the breakthroughs that may help them to decarbonize down to an Horizon 2020 project, 14 companies, all the research centers, big scale in less than 2 years' time. This industry has done it. This industry, when I look at the innovation agenda ahead, it's sky the limit. It ranged from the nanotechnologies down to the carbon fibers. It touched down to the new models of packaging, down to biofuels. It's absolutely amazing what can be done through this industry. And we have been putting this forward to the conversation. And we have also engaged with our social partners, with industrial, into a project on what are the future skills we need in Europe to deploy this. Again, I don't know many industries that are able in 2 years' time to do this, to move from concept on breakthroughs down to actual work being done in the labs to deploy the thing. The next steps is about investment and how we are carrying the transformation we are making. Because this industry is transforming. I mean, I don't need to make a speech about this today, but this industry is also about investment and is investing in Europe. Again, I mean, for a traditional, old-fashioned, standard industry, we are putting 3 billion euros plus in Europe every single year as investment. Name me a few other industries that are doing this. I don't know many of them. We are effectively transforming. We are cutting our emissions. We are building the future. Now we need to step change. We need to grow this investment platform, and that's what I'm going to bring to your attention for the next 35 years, now that I got your attention. The first objective we have is to grow in added value. The added value our industry brings is tremendous. We should grow this by 50%. The way we're going to do this is capturing the continuous growth on our core market. Think about packaging, think about tissues, hygiene, think about specialty paper. These are markets that grow faster than the GDP. So there's some margin. Even though we heard some gloom about the economic forecast, there are still some margins. And then we have those innovations that are either in the labs or that are emerging that will also contribute to the growth in added value of our industry. And again, I refer to things that I've seen in your companies, in labs, in practice, that are absolutely amazing when it will really be deployed on the market. To do that, the consultants that have worked with us estimate that we will need around 20 billion euro of additional capex in Europe for the next 35 years. Now comes the second challenge. We want to grow, we want to decarbonize. This is where we were in 1990, 60 million tons of CO2. And pay just attention how this is distributed, because it's not just about our own industry emission, as some other industries do it so well. It's also about our indirect emissions and our transport emission. So we are really thinking full-scale decarbonization. This is where we are today. That's the step change that Peter already mentioned. We have made a very significant progress. We have reduced per ton produced by 44% our emission since 1990. It's major. Now, the challenge for the 80% is there. We need to go to that level. That's a bit of a stretch. So we have reviewed the roadmap we had initiated 5 years ago with consultants to look at how we move from one to the other through the 6 pathways. Some of the pathways are a little bit more under our control than others, okay? But we will not detail each of those. We have projects that will follow up on some of those. What we have been looking at is what is under our control, what it implies in terms of investment. These are 24 billion cumulative investments needed to deploy the 4th pathways we had identified for direct emissions. Pay attention to this curve. It's a cumulative curve, so it's not a continuous increase, but it relies on 2 important factors. The first one is that those investments need to fit with our investment cycles. So we have machines, equipments already in place in our plants, in our mills, that are running, that will need to be replaced over time, or will need to be improved over time, and this has been factored into this vision. The second element, which is critical, is that the breakthrough technologies that we are working today with researchers will need to be commercially available around 2030, 2035, to make this step change in investment and to get deployed over time and to meet, hopefully, the objective we should pursue to reach those 80%. Now, you will say, hey, Sylvain, that's all fine, but listening to Lucrezia, listening to the bit of the gloom that is happening in the global context, are you really sure those 44 billion additional investments going to be made in Europe? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I cannot commit on this. We need to have certain basis right to make this happen in Europe, and we need fundamentally one single thing. It's to align our research, align our policies, align our financing. If those tools are properly aligned, then yes, that could happen in Europe. You see on this word cloud a lot of different things. I will not touch on each of those. I think we could have an entire day discussing just the policy words on this cloud. I think we could spend a lot of interesting discussion, and we had them yesterday on the research with the young researchers, and you will hear a little bit more from them later on. I think the whole interest of this session with you, Gideon, and the speakers that will come is maybe to bring us on a different path, which is the financing, something we rarely discuss in Brussels. We are so policy-minded in Brussels, so policy-focused. we forget that, well, investment needs money. So that's what we will bring for the discussion, because at the end of the day, what we aim at is to discuss those different ways to align the research element, the financing elements, and the policy elements to make it happen. So when at CEPI, with our industry experts and external consultants, we have reviewed the pathways we had identified in 2011, we thought, okay, we could come up and say, hey, this is it, guys. Here are our findings, ciao, bye-bye, and then trying to elaborate a nice communication on this. I think it's a little bit short, because we have certain elements that are under our control. We have other elements that will need to be deepened. So that's the reason why we are bringing forward today this discussion paper. We're going to release today, and you will get copies of it when you leave the room, a discussion paper where you will find the key findings of the strategic review we made of our roadmap. We don't really change the pathways. We deepen it a little bit. We really look at how to make this happen in Europe. And we need your feedback. So we will listen to the conversation today on investments and the financing of these investments, because it's part of those elements. We will listen to your feedbacks. We listen and engage this with policymakers, with our trade unions, with our researchers. And then we will come back to you earlier next year with kind of a formulated conclusion to the exercise. Thanks a lot for your attention.